Scientists have discovered that over 86,000 earthquakes took place under Yellowstone National Park in the United States over a period of 15 years.
America's iconic Yellowstone National Park was closed for the first time in 34 years.
The sudden closure of Yellowstone National Park following a terrifying underground explosion has sent shockwaves across the nation. For a park that stands as one of America's most iconic natural treasures, to have its gates shut under such dramatic and unsettling circumstances is nothing short of extraordinary. Visitors who had planned serene walks among geysers, lakes, and wildlife were instead met with warnings, sirens, and the unnerving reality that something deep beneath the surface had stirred with enough violence to warrant immediate action. Yellowstone is not just a national park. It is a living reminder of Earth's raw power resting atop one of the largest volcanic systems in the world. The fact that an underground explosion could disrupt this delicate balance underscores just how vulnerable both the land and the millions who visit it each year truly are. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The explosion itself has been described as subterranean, a violent burst from within the crust that shook the surrounding terrain with rumbling force. Such events are not easily dismissed as minor tremors. Yellowstone is famous for its geothermal activity. Its geysers, hot springs, and steaming vents are fueled by the immense heat lurking beneath. But when that heat surges in sudden bursts of destructive energy, the line between natural wonder and catastrophic threat becomes frighteningly thin. The closure of the park was not a precaution taken lightly. Authorities moved swiftly, recognizing that the scale of the event was beyond anything that could be categorized as ordinary. It was not simply a small quake or a harmless release of steam. It was something that left behind a stark sense of unease, hinting at processes underground that demand respect and caution. At the heart of Yellowstone lies the caldera, an enormous depression formed by previous massive eruptions thousands of years ago. Scientists have long studied this region, aware that beneath the ground stretches a chamber of molten rock, one of the largest known magma reservoirs on the planet. It is this geological titan that fuels the park's boiling rivers, vibrant hot springs, and the spectacular eruptions of Old Faithful. Yet the very same system that makes Yellowstone so breathtaking is also a dormant giant with the potential to unleash devastation. An underground explosion within this fragile network is more than an isolated event. It serves as a stark reminder that the Earth's crust here is restless, shifting and prone to sudden releases of pressure that defy easy prediction. The implications of shutting down Yellowstone go far beyond the disappointment of halted vacations or interrupted sightseeing. The decision reflects a recognition of just how serious the risks are when subterranean forces surge unexpectedly. If the explosion was a symptom of pressure release within the magma system, then the danger lies not only in what has already occurred, but in what could follow. Geological systems rarely act in isolation. One violent tremor may trigger another, gas buildups can destabilize, and water superheated by magma can flash into steam, creating explosive events that rip apart rock layers above. For a park that sits atop one of the most closely monitored volcanic hotspots on Earth, the prospect of escalating activity is deeply unsettling. Authorities chose closure because no measure of precaution can outweigh the need to safeguard human life when Earth itself is unstable beneath one's feet. Yellowstone has always stood at the edge of human understanding, a place where science meets mystery. For decades, researchers have deployed seismographs, GPS monitors, and thermal sensors across the park to track subtle shifts in the ground and detect underground tremors. While minor quakes and steam bursts are common, an underground explosion of the magnitude reported is not. It suggests a release of energy that challenges the assumptions of stability many hold about the region. Even if it does not indicate an impending large-scale eruption, the sheer violence of the event cannot be ignored. For scientists, it presents both a rare opportunity to gather data and a chilling reminder of how much is still unknown about the inner workings of this supervolcano system. The human response to such an event is telling. Tourists fled trails and lodges, abandoning plans to witness natural beauty in favor of safety. Park rangers, trained for emergencies but more accustomed to handling wildlife encounters or routine rescues, suddenly found themselves managing evacuations amid growing anxiety. The sheer size of Yellowstone, stretching across Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho, makes any evacuation a logistical feat. Roads became clogged, campsites emptied, and visitors were urged to move swiftly yet calmly. For many, the experience transformed from a scenic getaway into a brush with the raw unpredictability of nature. Even for those who were miles away from the epicenter of the explosion, the tremors and sense of unease were enough to leave a lasting impression. The closure of Yellowstone also reverberates economically. Millions of visitors flock to the park each year, bringing revenue to nearby towns, hotels, restaurants, and tour services. The park is not only a natural wonder, but also a vital economic engine for the region. To shut it down abruptly is to bring that flow of visitors and the livelihoods connected to them to a grinding halt. For local communities, the explosion is not just a geological crisis, but a financial one, as the stability of their livelihoods is tied to the accessibility of Yellowstone. The longer the park remains closed, the greater the strain on these communities. The implications extend outward, reminding everyone that when nature asserts itself so forcefully, human plans and economies are instantly overshadowed. But perhaps the most profound implications of the underground explosion lie in the realm of perception. Yellowstone is often seen as a sanctuary, a place of beauty and wonder where nature dazzles with spectacle rather than terrifies with danger. The sudden closure after such a violent event forces a reevaluation of that perception. Beneath the serene landscapes and postcard-perfect views lies a dangerous truth. Yellowstone is alive, volatile, and capable of unleashing forces that dwarf human control. The geysers and hot springs that inspire awe are powered by the same energy that can explode violently underground. The delicate balance between beauty and destruction is laid bare, reminding the world that Yellowstone is not simply a playground of natural marvels, but also a reminder of Earth's immense untamed power. For scientists, the event serves as both warning and opportunity. Every explosion, every tremor, every shift in the ground adds to the growing body of knowledge about how volcanic systems behave. The underground explosion offers crucial data points about pressure, gas movement, and seismic activity. Understanding these factors is essential not only for predicting future activity in Yellowstone, but also for enhancing broader models of volcanic behavior around the world. This event reinforces the importance of constant vigilance, continuous monitoring, and the humility to acknowledge that nature often defies prediction. The closure ensures that researchers can work without the added burden of safeguarding tourists, focusing instead on gathering information that may one day help prevent disaster. The cultural significance of Yellowstone also magnifies the impact of its closure. This park, established as the world's first national park in 1872, holds a symbolic place in the American identity. It is a testament to the nation's commitment to preserving wild landscapes and an enduring symbol of natural majesty. To see it shuttered under the shadow of an underground explosion is to confront the fragility of even the most enduring symbols. It disrupts the narrative of permanence and invites reflection on humanity's vulnerability before natural forces. Yellowstone's closure resonates not just with those who plan to visit, but with anyone who holds it in esteem as a national treasure. The shock lies not only in the explosion itself, but in what it represents. The reminder that even monuments of natural beauty are subject to Earth's volatile will. For those who witnessed the explosion's immediate effects, the experience is likely unforgettable. The ground's sudden shaking, the sound reverberating through the air, the sight of steam or ash rising where before there was tranquility, all combine to create a moment of primal awareness. Such moments strip away the veneer of safety that modern life often provides. They reconnect people to the reality that the planet beneath their feet is not static, not entirely knowable, and not under human control. These visceral reminders carry a weight that lingers long after the immediate danger has passed. Even without aftermath analysis, the sheer emotional impact of the event ensures that those who were there will carry the memory with them. In the broader context, the closure highlights the delicate balance of coexistence between humanity and natural systems. Yellowstone is one of many volcanic hotspots around the globe, and its behavior reflects larger truths about the restless energy within Earth's crust. The underground explosion is a microcosm of the constant push and pull between pressure and release, stability and upheaval. Humanity has learned to monitor, to predict, and to adapt, but never to fully control. Each time the Earth asserts itself in such a dramatic fashion, it underscores the reality that human civilizations exist at the mercy of natural forces far older and more powerful than themselves. The spectacle of Yellowstone silenced and cordoned off because of an underground explosion will linger as a stark reminder of the precariousness of human engagement with the natural world. The geysers that erupt on schedule, the wildlife that roams freely, and the majestic landscapes that inspire awe all exist atop a fragile crust brimming with molten rock and pressurized gas. The beauty and the danger are inseparable, two sides of the same coin. The closure is not just a practical measure but a symbolic one, drawing attention to the hidden forces that shape the land. It is a pause that compels reflection, forcing society to acknowledge what lies beneath the surface, both literally and figuratively. As word spread of Yellowstone's closure, a ripple of unease stretched across the nation. People far removed from the park suddenly found themselves contemplating the meaning of an underground explosion in such a significant geological location. The event stirred questions about safety, about preparedness, and about the potential scale of what could occur in the future. Yellowstone has long occupied a place in public imagination as a potential site of catastrophic eruption. And though scientists caution against alarmism, the symbolism of the park being closed after a violent underground event cannot be ignored. It reignites awareness of the park's unique and precarious position in the geological story of the planet. The decision to close Yellowstone speaks volumes about the seriousness of the situation. National parks are rarely shut so abruptly, and when they are, the reasons tend to be extraordinary. This was not a matter of simple maintenance or a temporary hazard. It was an acknowledgement that something significant had occurred beneath the surface, something that warranted keeping people away until it could be better understood. That decision reflects both caution and wisdom, an understanding that no measure of convenience or tourism can outweigh the risk of placing thousands of people in the path of unpredictable geological forces. The closure is, in essence, a statement of respect for the immense power that resides beneath Yellowstone. The underground explosion has already etched itself into the story of Yellowstone, joining the ranks of other dramatic geological events that punctuate its history. It is a reminder that the park is not a static museum of natural wonders, but a dynamic and sometimes volatile environment. Each eruption of a geyser, each shift in the earth, each burst of steam is part of an ongoing process that spans millennia. The explosion may fade from headlines, but within the broader geological record, it is another chapter in Yellowstone's ongoing narrative of fire and earth, pressure and release. Its closure ensures that people remain safe, but it also amplifies the awareness that this place is alive in ways most destinations are not. The closure of Yellowstone National Park after the terrifying underground explosion marks a moment when beauty and danger converged in stark relief. It is an event that compels respect, caution, and reflection. Beneath the rolling meadows, dense forests, and steaming springs lies a restless system that demands humility from all who walk upon it. The explosion underscores the reality that Yellowstone is more than a sanctuary of natural beauty. It is a living reminder of Earth's unpredictable power. Its closure is not just the halting of tourism, but a profound acknowledgement that some forces remain beyond human control, waiting in silence until they surge forth without warning. The underground explosion beneath Yellowstone that forced the unprecedented closure of the park has opened an entirely new dimension of concern, curiosity, and speculation. The event is not merely a geological hiccup, it is a dramatic rupture of expectations, a moment where the invisible power beneath one of Earth's most treasured landscapes erupted into sudden prominence. The closure has already made history, but its implications stretch far beyond the cordoned-off trails and empty visitor centers. To explore this event fully requires delving into the deeper contexts of geology, human interaction with the land, and the broader meaning of such a violent occurrence in a place that symbolizes both natural wonder and natural danger. The raw violence of an underground explosion at Yellowstone speaks to the extraordinary energy contained within the Earth's crust. While earthquakes and volcanic eruptions are familiar to humanity in general, Yellowstone exists in a category all its own. Beneath the rolling valleys and pine forests lies an interconnected labyrinth of magma chambers, hydrothermal systems, and pressurized gases. It is not a landscape defined by stillness but by constant movement, invisible beneath the surface until it suddenly breaks free. The explosion demonstrates just how abruptly those hidden dynamics can manifest. In an instant, centuries of built-up pressure or chemical imbalance can translate into a burst of energy powerful enough to rattle the ground, displace rock, and demand evacuation. For the millions who cherish Yellowstone as a symbol of tranquility, such violence reveals the true character of the park. It is not only a sanctuary, but a simmering cauldron, one whose scale dwarfs human comprehension. The very idea of closing Yellowstone underscores the severity of the event. Few places in America hold such cultural, ecological, and symbolic weight. It is not simply a park, it is a cornerstone of the conservation movement, the first of its kind, an international icon of preservation. To shut its gates in response to an underground explosion means acknowledging the profound seriousness of the threat. The rangers, geologists, and federal authorities who oversee Yellowstone do not make such decisions lightly. They are tasked with balancing access to one of Earth's most awe-inspiring places with the responsibility of protecting lives. That balance collapsed the moment the ground itself became unstable, when tremors and explosions indicated that the forces below could no longer be dismissed as routine. The closure was the only rational response to an event that defied routine explanation. The explosion also places Yellowstone in the global spotlight, drawing attention from scientists, policymakers, and the general public. Around the world, volcanic activity is monitored for its potential to disrupt entire regions. Yet, Yellowstone is unique because of its scale and the supervolcanic potential that lies beneath. While there is no suggestion that a cataclysmic eruption is imminent, the explosion adds a new layer of urgency to global conversations about how humanity lives with and prepares for geological hazards. The event becomes part of a larger pattern of reminders that Earth is not passive. From the eruptions of Icelandic volcanoes that halt transatlantic flights to the devastating impact of Mount St. Helens decades ago, humanity is repeatedly reminded that nature does not bend to human convenience. Yellowstone's underground explosion is the latest and perhaps one of the most symbolically powerful of those reminders. On a scientific level, the explosion is a puzzle as well as a warning. Geologists now face the task of parsing through seismic data, thermal readings, and gas emissions to reconstruct the chain of events that led to the blast. Was it a sudden release of steam pressure from superheated water trapped in the Earth? Was it the fracturing of rock due to the buildup of gases from magma deep below? Or was it a more complex interaction, a domino effect of underground systems destabilizing in sequence? Each possibility carries its own implications for what might come next. If it was a simple hydrothermal explosion, then the danger may be localized, though still severe. If it reflected deeper magma movement, then the implications expand dramatically. The closure provides scientists with the chance to investigate unencumbered, but the stakes of their findings stretch far beyond Yellowstone's borders. For those who cherish Yellowstone as a destination, the closure feels like a rupture of something more personal. Families who have long dreamed of witnessing Old Faithful erupt or of walking among herds of bison are now confronted with barricades and warnings. The psychological weight of being told that the very ground beneath one's feet is unsafe carries a particular kind of impact. Yellowstone has long symbolized timeless beauty, but the explosion reveals its volatile underbelly. This juxtaposition is jarring. The realization that beneath the crystalline lakes and forested mountains lies a force capable of explosions powerful enough to close the park redefines what Yellowstone means to those who revere it. No longer just a postcard-perfect destination, it becomes a symbol of nature's duality, breathtaking yet brutal, alluring yet dangerous. The event also sparks a broader cultural reflection on humanity's relationship with the planet. In an age of technology and control, there is often an assumption that humans can predict, manage, or mitigate natural hazards. Earthquakes are modeled, hurricanes are tracked, and wildfires are fought with fleets of aircraft. Yet when an underground explosion shakes Yellowstone, the truth becomes undeniable. There are limits to control. Some forces remain untamed, some phenomena too vast or too sudden for human systems to master. The closure of Yellowstone becomes not just a logistical necessity, but a humbling admission that the Earth remains the ultimate authority. No government, no agency, no technology can prevent a superheated explosion beneath the crust. At best, humans can only step aside and allow the forces of geology to play out. The emotional power of this event cannot be understated. Visitors who experience the explosion or its immediate tremors are forever marked by it. The sense of the ground shaking beneath one's feet, the sound reverberating in ways that defy description, the sudden awareness that the land is not stable but alive. These are experiences that etch themselves into memory. Even for those who are not physically present, the news resonates deeply. Yellowstone is not an obscure place. It is woven into the identity of the nation and the imagination of the world. To hear that it has been closed after such a violent event is to feel a collective shiver, an awareness that something vast and potentially dangerous has stirred in a place revered for its grandeur. The ecological dimensions of the explosion add another layer of complexity. Yellowstone is home to diverse ecosystems, from grizzly bears and wolves to rare plants and delicate thermal environments. An underground explosion has the potential to disrupt not only human access, but also the balance of life within the park. Steam bursts can alter landscapes, destroy habitats, or contaminate water sources. Tremors can shift migration patterns or unsettle animal behavior. While humans can evacuate, the wildlife of Yellowstone must adapt to whatever changes unfold. The closure of the park protects people, but it does not shield the living web of nature within its boundaries from the consequences of subterranean violence. The explosion is a reminder that Yellowstone's ecosystems are as fragile as they are resilient, shaped by forces far beyond their control. Economically, the consequences are far-reaching. The communities surrounding Yellowstone rely heavily on the influx of visitors, especially during peak seasons. Hotels, restaurants, tour companies, and countless small businesses depend on the constant flow of travelers drawn to the park. With its sudden closure, that flow dries up, leaving uncertainty in its wake. For many locals, the underground explosion is not just a geological event, but a threat to their livelihoods. This highlights another dimension of natural events. Their ripple effects extend into human economies and communities in ways that magnify their impact. A single underground explosion at Yellowstone reverberates outward, from geological instability to social and economic instability, weaving a web of consequences that few can escape. From a psychological perspective, the closure raises questions about how people perceive safety in natural environments. National parks are often seen as sanctuaries, places to escape the pressures of modern life and reconnect with nature. To discover that one of the most famous of these sanctuaries is unsafe because of underground instability shatters that perception. It introduces a sense of vulnerability into spaces that are usually associated with peace and renewal. The lesson is sobering: no place, no matter how beautiful or protected, is immune from the deeper forces of the earth. This realization may change how people approach not just Yellowstone, but natural spaces in general, fostering a new awareness of the inherent risks of stepping into landscapes shaped by powerful geological forces. The explosion also invites speculation about humanity's readiness for large-scale geological events. While Yellowstone has been closely monitored for decades, the underground explosion demonstrates that even the most vigilant surveillance cannot prevent surprises. Preparedness plans exist, but the unpredictability of such events raises questions about how effectively they could be implemented if the scale of activity were to escalate. The closure serves as both a test and a warning, an opportunity to examine how well systems of response and evacuation function when the ground itself becomes a threat. It is a reminder that preparedness is not a static achievement but an ongoing challenge, one that must evolve as new events unfold. On a symbolic level, Yellowstone's closure resonates with a sense of awe and fear that has always accompanied human encounters with volcanic and geothermal phenomena. Across cultures and centuries, eruptions, earthquakes, and explosions have been interpreted as signs of power beyond human comprehension. The underground explosion at Yellowstone continues this legacy, though now framed in the language of science rather than myth. Yet even with modern understanding, the sense of awe remains. There is something fundamentally humbling about being reminded that beneath the calm surface of familiar landscapes lurks a force capable of sudden and violent expression. The explosion is not merely a physical event, but a symbolic one, reconnecting humanity with its ancient awareness of the Earth as a living, dynamic, and unpredictable entity. For scientists, the closure provides both challenge and opportunity. Freed from the immediate pressure of managing tourist safety, they can now focus entirely on unraveling the details of the event. The data collected from seismic stations, gas monitors, and thermal sensors will be invaluable. Each piece of information adds to the broader understanding of how Yellowstone functions, how pressure builds, and how explosions are triggered. This knowledge has implications not only for Yellowstone itself, but for volcanic systems worldwide. The event becomes a case study, a rare and valuable moment where theory collides with reality in a way that demands analysis. The closure ensures that this work can proceed without distraction, though the urgency of the task underscores the gravity of the situation. The political dimension of Yellowstone's closure should also not be overlooked. Decisions about access, safety, and communication are not made in isolation. They involve multiple layers of government, from local authorities to federal agencies, each balancing scientific advice, public safety, and public perception. The underground explosion places these systems under scrutiny, testing their ability to act swiftly and decisively in the face of uncertainty. The closure is both a protective measure and a political act, one that signals to the public that their safety is prioritized above all else. Yet it also opens the door to debate about how such decisions are made, who makes them, and what thresholds of danger justify such dramatic action. The event has also ignited public imagination in ways that stretch beyond immediate safety concerns. Yellowstone has long been the subject of speculation about catastrophic eruptions, the so-called supervolcano scenario that captures both scientific interest and popular fascination. The underground explosion, though far from such an event, inevitably stirs these associations. The very mention of Yellowstone in the context of explosions or closures taps into a deep reservoir of cultural narratives about apocalypse, disaster, and survival. While scientists may emphasize caution against alarmism, the symbolism of the closure cannot be separated from these broader cultural stories. The explosion becomes more than a geological event. It becomes a chapter in humanity's ongoing fascination with the possibility of sudden, world-changing natural disasters. The closure of Yellowstone following the underground explosion ultimately represents a convergence of multiple dimensions: geological, ecological, cultural, economic, political, and symbolic. Each layer adds depth to the significance of the event, ensuring that it will be remembered not simply as an isolated explosion, but as a moment of profound intersection between human life and natural forces. The closure is a pause, a moment of recalibration, where the usual rhythms of tourism and recreation are suspended to acknowledge the power of the earth beneath. It is a reminder that beneath the beauty of Yellowstone lies an engine of immense power, one that cannot be ignored, dismissed, or controlled. The underground explosion that forced Yellowstone into sudden closure is more than a momentary disturbance. It is a phenomenon that expands into multiple layers of meaning, intersecting geology, human society, and the very philosophy of how people view the Earth. While the earlier discussions of its immediate implications touch on science, economy, and perception, there remain still deeper angles that can be explored. These layers show that such an event is not only about a single shock within a single park, but about a spectrum of consequences, connections, and lessons that stretch outward into unexpected directions. One of the most overlooked aspects of such an explosion is its potential to reshape the landscape itself in subtle or dramatic ways. Yellowstone's land is already defined by hydrothermal scars, ancient lava flows, and shifting basins carved by time and pressure. An underground explosion can alter that canvas overnight. It can collapse underground cavities into new depressions, alter the course of hot springs, or even redirect subterranean water flows that feed the park's thermal features. A meadow that once felt solid may sink into a steaming crater. A geyser that erupted predictably may fall silent, while a dormant vent may suddenly roar back to life. These transformations add to the park's history of constant change, yet they also serve as reminders that the landscapes humans admire are not frozen in time, but dynamic, molded continuously by Earth's hidden power. The explosion also draws attention to the fragile relationship between humans and geothermal systems. While Yellowstone has always been a magnet for visitors, the underground explosion highlights the inherent dangers of such proximity. Tourists have long marveled at geysers, walking across thin crusts of land that conceal boiling water and volatile gases just meters below. The sudden violence of an underground blast reveals how precarious that closeness truly is. Every boardwalk and trail exists because of careful planning, designed to keep people safe from heat vents and unstable ground. But an underground explosion defies planning. It happens beneath those carefully designated paths, beneath even the most secure zones, turning assumed safety into risk in an instant. The event challenges the very model of how humans interact with landscapes that are inherently unstable. The closure of Yellowstone also reverberates into the realm of national identity. Parks like Yellowstone are more than physical spaces. They are symbols of American values. Wilderness preserved, heritage protected, beauty made accessible to the public. To see such a park shuttered by geological violence disrupts that symbol. It forces a national audience to confront the reality that even the most treasured parts of the American landscape are subject to forces that neither government nor society can control. The closure becomes not only a matter of safety, but a moment of collective reckoning with the fragility of what is often considered enduring. This touches on national pride, cultural memory, and the narrative of America's relationship with its wild places. The explosion's psychological weight also extends into the sphere of children and future generations. For those who grew up hearing of Yellowstone as a wonderland of geysers, bison, and wide-open skies, the knowledge that it can be closed by underground violence redefines that relationship. Children who plan to visit may instead carry a memory of it as a dangerous place, one where the ground itself betrayed trust. This may influence how future generations think about nature, not simply as a place of wonder, but as a force that demands caution and humility. The underground explosion thus becomes part of the collective memory of a generation, shaping their outlook on both Yellowstone and the natural world. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Yellowstone's shutdown after the underground explosion? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.